Before we get to our show, here is a podcast we think you're going to love.
Hey, this is Danielle.
And this is Sarah.
We're the Mysterious Midwest Podcast.
We'll be coming at you every Monday with the ookiest and the spookiest happenings in the Midwest.
From cryptids to hauntings and creatures that go bump in the night.
Join us for a laugh and a drink while we talk about the strange and unusual.
You can find us at mysteriousmidwestpod.com, and we're downloadable on wherever you listen to your podcast.
We're also all over that social media, so you can find us on Facebook at Mysterious Midwest Podcast, Twitter at Mist Midwest, that's MYST Midwest, and Instagram at Mysterious Midwest.
That's it.
That's it. Keep it spooky. Bye.
We need
Gotta plug
to
stuff
plug in our microphones.
If you want to make a podcast, you gotta plug stuff in. Do.
Step 1 to make a podcast. Plug your microphone into your computer.
Well, you know.
How long have we been doing this? Clearly not long enough.
Not long enough.
All right.
Hello, and welcome to Perhaps It's You,
An unofficial Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast.
I'm Liz.
I'm Samantha.
We're in the Witch District.
We're your cool mystery aunts.
Absolutely. That's a truth. And we're here today to talk to you about our Lord and Savior, Robert Stack.
Do you have any updates?
Oh, I have several.
Okay, let's hear them.
For one, I was corrected on the location of the thing.
Oh, yes. Someone with inside knowledge of the thing posted
Last
to
time I
our
said-
Facebook group. I believe it was Becky.
I said, hey, if anybody stopped in New Mexico and saw the thing, I want to know about it. And Becky, very polite, was like, yeah, that's in Arizona. But in my defense, the reason that I was confused is because the billboards telling you to turn off for the thing start in fucking El Paso. So they're all the way through New Mexico.
So the hype is real.
To Arizona, yes. It's one of those roadside attractions that's like, in 2 days, you're really going to want to see the thing. Also, the thing is not just Hitler's car. The thing is also like a papier-mâché alien.
Oh. Could we make a papier-mâché alien and start charging people to come see it?
I don't know that people are so starved for something to, like... The thing about the middle of the desert is there's nothing. There's,
Okay,
like, nothing.
good
There's,
point.
like, not even a gas station. So you get really excited about the idea of, like, anything... like any reason to pull off the road.
Okay. Also, we couldn't afford all those billboards, so...
Yeah, we definitely can't afford all the billboards. We don't have Hitler's car. Several people suggested that Hitler's car should be, like, blown up or set on fire. Again, I have to highly recommend the episode of This American Life called Hitler's Yacht. It's fucking hilarious. Doesn't sound like it's going to be hilarious, but it is. Okay, that's that update. The thing is in Arizona.
Okay.
And there's not just Hitler's car.
It's also a papier-mâché alien.
Yeah.
So, if you weren't...
I'm sorry I besmirched the thing. Okay, more updates. I heard from my dear high school friend Kristen about Sergeant Stubby.
Kristen sent us some photos that will be on Instagram. We have her permission to post them. They're amazing.
So she was listening to our Hero Dogs episode and was like, there's a memorial to Sergeant Stubby around here. I live in Middleton. And it turned out that it was 5 miles away from her house.
Oh my gosh.
So she took her dog,
so
Jamie.
envious.
I know you are. she took her dog, Jamie, to see the Sergeant Stubby memorial. And it's so cute.
Yes, there's a photo of Jamie in front of Stubby salutes. And it's delightful.
She had no idea this park was even in her town. And it turns out it's really nice. So if you were in that area, go check it out. It's so cute. I really wish we could go.
It seems like you can buy bricks to memorialize a pet, and they'll put them in the Sergeant Stubby
I wonder
memorial.
how much that is. We should do it.
We totally should.
We should do it for, what was that hero dog's name?
Oh,
The Caesar dog.
Harley.
Yes, we should do one for Harley.
Oh my gosh. We need to look into this. We might just do it.
How much it is. We could crowd raise it, maybe. Okay, so thank you, Kristen. This was awesome.
Follow us on Instagram. I'm going to be posting some of the photos that she sent. She sent a lot of photos. The Sergeant Stubby
Is so cute.
Memorial Park is freaking adorable.
Yeah, so if you are even anywhere in Connecticut, really, make the
Or
drive.
anywhere in the world. I don't know. Go there.
Yeah,
whatever.
Hop on a fucking plane. Your next vacation is planned.
Sergeant Stubby Memorial.
Okay, next update. So my parents were catching up on Perhaps It's You on New Year's Eve, as they do, because they were behind.
As all good parents of podcasters.
I'm just kidding.
My mom doesn't listen to this.
She's like, whatever, I've heard your voice. But if you may recall, we had a computer hacking mystery
Yes.
where Robert Stack talked about how computers were connected by phone lines. And I didn't understand how that worked before the internet. So my dad sent me a handy email. And he said, Mr. Stack is right. Before the internet, companies connected computers using phone lines, sometimes dial-up, but mostly dedicated leased lines for each connection.
Oh.
So if I wanted my computer to talk to your computer, that means we would have to put in a line in between them.
Just from my computer to your computer?
Yeah. That's why we should all take a moment today to thank Al Gore for inventing the internet. Thank you, Al Gore.
That sounds like a lot of cords.
The 80s was before fiber optic cable, so bandwidth was limited to what copper wire could support. The 80s was also before the Cisco router, so it was really a computer-to-computer connection, leased line with modems at each end, or a mini computer was programmed to be the router for the data center. The 80s was before the giant telecom satellites, so intercontinental connections had to use transoceanic cables, which was super expensive and took months to arrange. Computer security almost didn't exist, so these crude networks rarely went outside one company. Even into the 90s, lots of servers had no password, or something easily guessed like 1234, or every server in a data center had the same password. We were still fixing some of this in Y2K projects. The reason I thought I knew my dad would know was because he was in like banking systems and software. Anyway.
That was crazy.
Yeah. So, and he adds, as well as interconnectedness, it's difficult to understand how much computing power has changed. In 1980, the world's supercomputer was the Cray 1. An iPhone 6 is 21 times faster.
Wow. That's wild.
So, there you go. That's a little update on our hacking
Amazing.
mystery.
Thanks, Liz's dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Resident technology expert.
I knew he would know.
Is his new title.
Okay. Not just my dad.
The technology advisor to Perhaps It's You.
Because I was like, there wasn't the internet, but I don't know anything else. That was my input. Okay. Super important update is that we have new Patreon rewards.
Yes. Welcome to the new year. We have an exciting announcement.
Hello. Exciting announcement. So, until now, we've only had one tier. If you donated any amount of money, you got the same thing.
Right, which makes us wonder why anyone would donate more than $1.
Yeah.
And people do.
Many of you do.
You get the same thing, whether you give us $1 or $100. No one's giving us $100, but
lots of people are giving us more than $1. And we were like,
$10, yeah,
you gotta
that's
get
amazing.
You gotta get a little bit more for your money, right? You're already giving us more than you have to. We gotta give back a little more to you.
Right.
So now we're gonna have 3 tiers. Let me break it down.
Are we gonna name them?
Probably.
Tier 1 is Mystery Solver. We need clever names for Tier 2 and 3.
I feel like they should all be mystery solvers, so we can refer to them collectively as. But maybe it should be like mystery solver.
No matter what,
something.
if you're giving to us, you're a mystery solver. Like that's the
Yeah.
baseline. But you may also be a.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not creative. Someone out there listening, maybe you have a better idea for us.
Okay. So tier 1, which is stealing $1 from your mom's wallet and sending it to us a month. You're still going to get a bonus episode. You're still going to get the welcome postcard that we mail to you, which usually is an X-Files postcard with Lisa Frank stickers on it. Who wouldn't want that?
You're welcome.
And then you also get whatever we do for patrons. We have occasional watch parties.
Yeah, that's open to everyone.
Stuff like that. That's not on the schedule. You just will get included in any cool bonus, whatever. Okay. Next level. $5 and above, you get all that stuff I just mentioned. You will get stickers with your welcome postcard because, as I mentioned, that's not sustainable to keep doing for $1.
No.
So that will be reserved for $5.
Yeah, we need a little bit more of a markup on that one.
Sorry. And then I'm also going to be making one digital coloring sheet a month that you'll get as a PDF. And then, every month you can color something. Perhaps it's you related. Is the first one going to be Robbie Stacky?
Liz is winking. You can't see it because this is an audio medium.
I feel like they can tell from the pause. Wink, wink, yes. Totally is.
Are you going to do Mustache the Hero Dog?
Yes.
I think that one should be on the list.
Maybe that'll be February.
Ooh. I want to color that.
Viva la revolution! Okay, yes. Okay, so now you know what February is going to be. All right. We're the rare person that feels like giving us $10 or more. Why do you? I don't know.
Well, now you have a little bit more of a reason.
But this is like,
just the generosity of your heart, which we also very much appreciate.
If you're giving us $10 or more, a month, you're going to be getting one exclusive item a quarter. So every 3 months, we'll send you something nobody else gets, like a pin or a sticker or it's a little piece of swag that fits in an envelope. And the only way to get that will be at this Patreon tier.
That's really exciting.
If that makes sense. I'm super excited to come up with this stuff.
Yeah.
So
we're excited to be giving more back to you. A lot of you give your hard-earned cash to this podcast, and you get very little in return. So we're stepping up our game just a little. We dipped our toes into the Patreon rewards last year, and it's a new year, and we're ready.
Seriously had to talk me into it. I was like, there's no way anyone's going to give us money. Everybody's Patreon budget has been full for years.
I thought the same thing, but you know what?
You can't get any more blood from that turnip or whatever. It's like, Samantha, times are hard. Nobody's got a spare dollar. And she was like, well, we'll just try it. And before we even had rewards, people were giving us money. And I was like, blah, 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 blah.
I know. I set our goal at 5 patrons because we always joke that we have 5 listeners. I think we haven't made that joke in a while, but that's our running joke.
Hello, 5
we only have 5 listeners. So I set our goal at 5 and we quickly surpassed it. I didn't make any more goals because I'm like, well, certainly the floodgates opened and now they're closed again. But we keep getting more and we appreciate all of you, and we're going to step up our Patreon reward game.
Yeah.
And we hope you
appreciate it.
If
you have any questions, let us know. I hope what I just rambled made sense.
If you are already giving at these levels,
you don't have to sign up again or whatever. It's retroactive. You
will be getting your new Patreon rewards effective immediately.
Yeah. And the first time that bonus thing is going to go out is every 3 months. So it'll be going out in March. Will be the first one. If that makes sense.
If you're thinking about signing up, now's the time.
Yeah.
And as Liz said, let us know if you have any questions. We're reachable by email. Perhaps it's you podcast@gmail.com. You can also message us through Patreon. We see those. We get those too.
Yeah. Or in the Facebook group, which is the official, unofficial, perhaps it's you podcast group, something.
If you search for us on Facebook, you'll find it.
There's only one.
We're interactive. That's where we interact the most with our fans. So join that group. Speaking of Patreon, this month we are watching Hotel Hell.
Yes.
A lot of you seem to really like our Kitchen Nightmares episode. We're bringing Gordon Ramsay back. Liz has actually been to this hotel, so she's going to tell us
excited
all
to talk about it.
Next month we're doing Ghost Adventures, and we're bringing friend of the pod Cara on the show to talk about Ghost Adventures with us. I think we're going to do Bobby Mackey's Music World.
Okay.
Unless we
I've seen none of them, so I'm just whatever.
We can't find the show. I don't actually know if it's streaming anywhere, but I believe for sure the documentary is out there somewhere. So we'll do the documentary.
That's going to be February.
Yeah, look forward to that. And that's it.
I think that's all of my updates. I hope that all made sense.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Should we jump into season 3, episode 11?
Yes, let's do it.
There's 3 mysteries.
Oh, I'm gonna put on my shawl though.
Yeah, the heat is off. It is January in Minnesota, and we are...
Listener Gary made this shawl, and I'm going to wear it
I love the colors of that.
Babushka style over my headphones to keep me warm.
It is cold in here.
Hello, Samantha.
Liz has morphed into...
Hello. Oh, you're awfully thin, my dear.
She is now an unsolved mystery, an unsolved granny.
Yeah, I'm an unsolved granny. I'm going to keep trying to fatten you up with meat and potato pies. Going down to the shops with my cart.
So we are doing... I cannot take you seriously with that on your head.
Deal with it.
That is a very well-made shawl.
Yeah, well.
And the colors really are on
Our
theme with our
listeners
podcast.
are very talented.
The green.
Okay, so what episode are we on?
This is episode 11 of season 3, and I think there's 3 mysteries in it.
There are. And I have the first one. Okay.
2 shorter ones and 1 real long one.
Of course, I feel like Samantha. Am I wrong? Does Samantha always get the really long ones?
Feels that way to me, but I could just be imagining it.
Since I had the Boys in the Tracks mystery, which I was like, oh my god, I cannot do this much research every week. I feel like since then Samantha's gotten all the hard ones, and I'm just like snoozing along. Okay, so my mystery is The Unexplained. It is about psychic artist Coral Podge? Something.
I need your analysis right off the bat. Do you think this woman is actually psychic?
I don't know, but I think it's cool.
It's super cool. Usually I'm extremely skeptical of these people, but I don't know. Unless she's got something sneaky going on.
I feel like either way it's cool. That was my end conclusion. If she's
That's a good point.
somehow psychic, that's cool. If she's somehow come up with this parlor trick that's this precise
And impressive.
that's also cool.
That's true. This is much cooler than the fucking woman who sticks gold leaf on her.
I could do that.
face.
Bleh. Like, no one's impressed by you gluing gold leaf to yourself while no one's looking. Or pretending a jewel fell out of your eye that you're clearly just cupping in your fingers. Bitch, I could do that. This I could not do. So I feel like whether or not she's connected, Samantha's like trying not to look at me because I'm wearing a shawl on my head. I'll take it off. It's clearly ruining the podcast.
It's struggle. I'm struggling.
Okay. Okay, well, either she is connected with the afterlife or she's such a talented, like, illusionist that either way, I think it's awesome. And you don't know, and that's kind of cool, too.
Yes. Very, very true.
So I like this one. Okay. This artist, Robert Stack, this was a little bit of shade, says that she does simple portraits, nothing fancy.
I thought that was shady, too. Robert Stack.
I was like, first of all, she
know
might
he's
be
a skeptic,
communing
but-
with the dead. I think that is a little fancy. All right? So tone it down. Also, the portraits are, like, pretty good.
Yes.
They're not like...
I was expecting some fucking Son of Sam style
Yeah, they're
police
not
sketches.
like the police sketches we see
No,
half the
these are
time,
real
which
good.
barely look like a human. They look like a Sasquatch. Okay, I'm not even explaining this right. So she's a British artist who supposedly had the supernatural ability to draw portraits of dead people she had never ever seen after their death. And the way that they demonstrate this is they have this guy, Peter Cook, come over. He's never met Coral before. He sits down next to her, and she takes his hand for just like a second and then starts drawing. And she ends up drawing his grandmother, Minnie Rose.
And it truly is his grandma. They do side-by-sides in this
Yeah,
segment of a
they
photo of the person and then what she drew. It's remarkably similar.
And as she's drawing it, she's like, maybe her name is Rose. Maybe she has rosy cheeks. Like, I keep getting the word Rosie. And her last name is Rose.
And she also had rosy cheeks because she's... And these aren't generic-looking people. That was the other thing I was expecting when I went into this. I'm like, well,
Right.
anyone can draw a generic-looking person. Like, if someone drew me, I feel like you'd be like, well, that could be any white woman. But this woman was very specific-looking, old lady, kind of round, and even, like... I don't know, she
way
had
her,
like twinkle in her eye.
Like, the
even.
way her cheeks dimpled and
Yes.
stuff. Like, and the guy was like, I wasn't so impressed with the drawing. I was more impressed with the things she was saying. And I was like, you're not impressed with that drawing? It looks fucking exactly like your grandmother.
Yeah.
And then she drew his mother, which was a totally different type of face than the grandmother.
Yes, it was profile.
It was profile. It
even
was
a
like
different
much more
style.
slender and like, I don't know, just like very different. And that looked exactly like her too. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to make of this. I just think it's awesome.
I thought I was extremely impressed. Some of the other drawings they showed had very unique like mustaches. There's definite MVM contenders in here. Did you draw some?
So at the end, I'm just kind of skipping around here. Sorry, everyone. At the end, they do sort of just a little slideshow of side-by-side comparisons, and they show you the sketch, what year she drew it, and the photograph, and what year that person died, right? And one of them had the most hilarious mustache, like an old-time villain that, like, wisps up on each side.
Oh, yes.
And She drew it exactly like that.
There was also an impressive lip curtain. I'll have to post some photos on Instagram.
This person died in 1930. They didn't have a name. I just called the mustache the Sketch.
Nice.
And I don't know if a sketch can win MVM, but that would be my contender.
Folks, you need to start harassing Liz to make a mustache zine.
Oh yeah, that might be one of the extra special rewards.
Yes. I want one for myself.
Of all of the MVMs.
Yeah, because every week Liz draws one of the impressive mustaches in the show, and I just feel like people are going to want a collection of them.
I feel like I've kept all my notebooks, so that is possible. Okay, so and then that guy Peter said that it was uncannily accurate, and his grandmother had actually died in 1962. There's really no way that Coral would have met her or known that was his grandmother.
Again, this is pre-Google Images. You know what I mean? Like, this is pre-Facebook. Today, I would be like, okay, well, you're just looking these people up.
Right.
Because,
right.
You somehow can get into their Facebook page and see what they've posted of their grandmother. I don't know how she could have done this.
Robert's text says that while some psychics are obvious charlatans, others display gifts which seem to defy explanation. This type of psychic ability is known as automatic control, which is sort of like she's like allowing herself to be used by spirits, or like they're communicating through her in some way that she doesn't know or understand.
Is that kind of like where automatic writing? Is that in the same category? Like
she's just letting her hand draw the portrait, and she's not really aware of like what it's going to draw.
Interesting.
She had said she stopped counting once she had done 100,000 of these portraits.
Wow.
And that the way that she became aware of her ability was that shortly after World War II, she had taken her mom, who was feeling down, to see a psychic. And when the psychic greeted her, she was like, "Oh, you're a psychic artist." And the woman was like, "I am?"
She was already an artist.
She was an artist.
Before this.
But she was like, "I'm not psychic, lady." And she was like, "Oh, you just haven't honed your gift yet." So she spent like years honing this gift somehow. And then that led into this ability. Okay. There are the most adorable British people in this segment, and I love all of them, and I want to give them all a hug. I really wish I could meet Coral. Unfortunately, she passed away in April of 2001. They show her like giving a speech on her like ability to this like drawing room of ladies, and I was like, oh, I wish I was there. That just seems cool.
I know.
That's pretty much the whole mystery. She wrote a book. Oh, no, I can't remember what it was called though, like Living Images or something like that, which I'd be kind of interested in seeing.
It was extremely impressive.
Yeah.
Because usually I'm just a skeptical bitch when I go into these segments, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck is this going to be? And then as it was going on, they showed more and more side-by-sides of the work she'd done. It is eerie.
Yeah.
And extremely impressive.
And they do talk to another woman who met with her, and she was able to draw her aunt who died when she was 6, and was just like, I have no idea how she would be able to do that. And she was wearing this like hilarious red like power suit with like huge shoulder pads. It's really great. Coral said that she was hoping that this would help people deal with the death of their loved ones, and that she wanted people to know that there was a life after death, and that was sort of her purpose in doing these drawings.
I like it.
I think it did seem to bring joy to some people. I don't know if that like convinced them of an afterlife or what, but it is cool. That's really all there is to it. Coral, you seem like you were cool.
She seemed super cool.
Wish we could have hung out.
Well, listen, you're an artist.
While I'm wearing my babushka
shawl.
Sipping some tea and sitting in a little garden.
Start honing your craft, Liz, and maybe a future Patreon tier could be you drawing someone's dead loved ones.
I don't think I'm a psychic artist, everyone. I think this is a very...
Coral didn't think so either.
I think this is a very rare ability, and we should respect that. I'm not Coral. Okay, Samantha has a final appeal. This was originally, seems like it was a 2-part thing.
It was definitely a 2-parter, so this segment is long.
But it's very interesting.
It is interesting. So, first of all, I want to give a content warning. They use the R word a lot in this segment.
Oh, yeah, they sure do.
I'm not talking about Robert. This is not Robert's tag.
Why would you give a content warning for that? So, you're like, it's going to be too hot to handle. Stack, 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 stack.
Robert Sagan said over and over again. No, they use the R word. If you don't want to hear that, you may want to skip the segment. Or if you don't like stories about horrifying injustice. Maybe you want to skip this one as well.
Yes, this made me quite angry.
Yep. So as Liz said, this
Surprise,
is
surprise.
a final appeal. Yeah, that's a thing that never happens to us when we watch the show. All right, so on April 13th, 1986, at 7:30 p.m., firefighters were called to the home of 79-year-old Pauline Martz, where her body was found inside. She had died of smoke inhalation, but her death was no accident. It was determined that she had been bound and gagged, her killer having set the fire in order to suffocate her and destroy evidence of the crime. 5 days later, the police picked up 22-year-old man named Johnny Lee Wilson, who was a friend of Pauline's, for questioning. After several hours of interrogation, they obtained a confession from him, even though he was not aware of what he was confessing to.
He was also questioned without his parents. How old was he?
So he was in his 20s. He was 20 years old.
But he has the mental capacity of someone in the fourth grade, basically.
Yes.
And
he lives with his parents. They still care for him.
And he's being questioned without an attorney, without a guardian.
And not even understanding. We'll get into it, but he was asked later, do you know what Miranda rights are? And he couldn't even answer. I don't remember what answer he gave, but it was like,
yes, it's the difference between right and wrong.
Yes.
And you're just sort of like, oh.
Yeah. So this is not great. On the day of the murder, Johnny was hanging out with friends, and then he mowed a neighbor's lawn. His mother and grandmother picked him up and took him home. They said that Johnny then had a friend over around 7 p.m. Afterwards, Johnny and his friend went to the post office to mail a letter, and while they were returning home, they heard the sirens and drove to Pauline's house to discover that it was on fire. Gary Wall was a friend of Johnny's, and he saw him there at the house. So Gary also was mentally ill. I don't know if he knew him from school or...
that was the impression that I got.
But he was also at the scene of the fire. I don't think he was the friend that was with Johnny. Was he?
No, I think they bumped into... Like, a bunch of people are gawking at the fire.
This is not a large town.
Yeah,
so
and they
people
bump into each other. I think they did know each other from school. They were both in a special program. And so they get to chatting.
Right. So, however, the next day, Gary was picked up by the police and questioned. He told police that Johnny had confessed to tying Pauline up and leaving her in the house to die in the fire. However, Gary failed 2 lie detector tests. Actually, I think he failed 3.
Yeah, I think he failed 3 past 1 or something, which just shows you that lie detectors are stupid nonsense.
Yes. And based on this confession, police searched Johnny's home, where they found women's underwear in his bedroom. However, it seemed like his mother had her own, like, a dresser in his room. I don't know if they just didn't have a lot of space.
Yeah.
And so some of her clothes were in his room, but, like, in a dresser.
I think she was using some of his closet space and also kept a dresser in his room. It's not really that weird.
No, but they were like, oh, it's his room. So they just confiscated that.
He has an entire drawer of women's underwear. It's like, yeah, because that belongs to a woman that lives in the house.
Right,
like,
which his family told the police. They stated that it was his mother's underwear. It did not belong to Pauline. The police also found jewelry that they thought was stolen from the Martz home. However, Johnny's grandmother said that she used that jewelry for sewing.
I have a bunch of, like, rhinestones and just, old broken jewelry and whatever that I keep around for crafts.
Right, and that seems like what his grandmother
And now
had.
I'm like, oh, people are going to say, people are going to search his house and say, stole it all. Also, it was like... If it's anything like the reenactment, it's crap. It's not like jewels.
Yeah, it's like junk. It was a pile of junk,
broken costume jewelry like you would find at the thrift store. It's not like valuable that you would steal it.
Yes. So then they found a nearly empty gas can that they claimed was used to set the fire.
This just makes me feel like you can never have a gas can.
I know. Don't
keep your gas in cans. I'm like, what? The police will use it to railroad you.
Yes. So they gathered all of this quote-unquote evidence, and then they proceeded to interrogate Johnny for hours. And they reenact the interrogation based on the transcripts. And if you've seen Making a Murderer, it's like exactly how Brendan Dassey was interrogated.
That's what I thought, too.
Where they're constantly like, well, how do you think she would have been tied up?
And he's like, handcuffs? And they're like,
no, that's the wrong answer.
It's like, because he doesn't know, because he was not there. That Brandon Dassey thing makes me so mad.
It's infuriating.
Have you watched the second part of
I
Maybe
have
Room?
not watched the second one.
I can't bring myself to watch it
Neither
because
can I.
it's going to be so upsetting. I know. I hate that he is still in prison. His confession makes no sense.
Not at all.
And there's no way they should have been talking to him without a guardian or a legal representative.
Right.
I don't really think police should ever be allowed. I realize you can. I don't think that's good that you
Right.
can just interrogate people without anyone there to represent their interests.
No, especially not a vulnerable person, because what happened in this case and what happened in Brendan Dassey's case is that Johnny didn't know he could just up and leave.
Right.
Because, of course, he's got these authoritarian police officers holding him in a room, asking him questions.
Yelling
He has
at him.
The mental capacity of a very young child. A child isn't going to know that they can just stand up and say, fuck you guys, I'm out.
Right.
Like, they're going to do what these adults are telling them. And that's essentially where Johnny's head was at. And then he's put through hours and upon hours of interrogation to the point where he's like, well, if I just give them the answer they want, they'll let me go, because that's what they tell him. They say,
Right.
give us the answer you want and everything will be fine and you can go home.
He says that at one
that's
point.
what he does.
They pulled his head back, and that's when he said that he did it.
Yes.
Of course, because he's scared.
Yeah, they physically assault him at one point. So this
It's
is
appalling.
horrifying. All right. So, eventually Johnny confessed. After the confession, he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. He was evaluated to see if he was mentally fit to stand trial. 2 psychiatrists did not think that he was mentally fit to stand trial. However, a court-appointed psychiatrist felt that he was.
This is where we get to the part where they're asking him, like, do you understand what you've been charged with? Because they're trying to figure out if he understands the charges, if he's able to assist in his defense. I think there's one other thing that proves you're mentally competent to stand trial. He's really not. He doesn't really understand why he's there. They ask him if he's read his Miranda rights, and he says, like, maybe. And then they say, do you even know what that is? And he's
he
like,
said,
the
yeah.
difference between right and wrong. And they're like, okay. So clearly he's not. Clearly he's not. And are they charging him as an adult? Like, that also seems...
I believe so, because he was 20 years old.
But... I hate it.
So he told his attorneys that he was innocent, but with the evidence against him, his attorneys told him to plead guilty because otherwise he would be found guilty and sentenced to death. So
There's no
now they're telling
evidence.
him you could get killed.
There's no evidence against him. A completely bogus confession and a bunch of stuff they happen to find in the house that actually has no connection to the
belonged to
crime
his
scene.
mother and grandmother.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have a mom is like their case. You have a grandma.
Yeah, so when he was taken before the judge to plead guilty, it was quite obvious that he had no idea what he was doing. When he was asked why he was pleading guilty, he responded that he did not know.
And they still let him do it.
Yeah. They interview some experts who are now working on Johnny's behalf to try and get him freed, who say there is absolutely no reason. Like, when he went before the judge and the judge asked him, do you willingly, voluntarily plead guilty? And he said, no, and I don't know why I'm here. The judge should have stopped everything and said, well, I'm setting a court date and we'll see you at trial.
Yeah.
But he accepted his guilty plea and sentenced him to life in prison. So this is all just trash.
Can we not hear any more comments about how we shouldn't be questioning I'm not even going to say the justice system, the court system.
Right. Yeah, there's no justice.
This is completely appalling. Stuff like this still happens. We can't be like, oh, that was in the 80s or whatever. No. Like,
Yep.
we still try.
Yeah, we were just talking about Brendan Dassey. This could be his story.
Yeah, we still execute people with very low IQs, which
Isn't
is
there a state right now
appalling.
that's about to execute someone who is convicted based on bite mark evidence, which has been debunked?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure I
Probably.
saw that on Twitter. So the world should just fucking burn. Okay.
Don't worry. It will. Give it 20 years.
All right. So February of 1988, Chris Brownfield, while serving time in prison for another crime, told authorities that he knew the real killer of Pauline Martz, and that it was not Johnny Lee Wilson because it was him.
This is amazing to me, actually.
This is stunning, honestly. Brownfield claimed that he and an accomplice were tipped off about Martz's home and that she had a great amount of money inside. They broke into her house, ransacked...
She was known as, like, the richest woman in town.
Right.
I don't know if we mentioned that.
Ransacked the place, bound and gagged Pauline, and then his accomplice decided to burn the house down to destroy the evidence. Brownfield claims that he tried to go back into the house to save her, but it was too late. The two men then fled the scene and left Pauline to die.
So Brownfield was like, did you get the old lady out? This is according to him, but whatever. And then the accomplice goes, no, she was getting lippy with me. So he left her in there to burn. And then Brownfield is like, let's go in the other way and try to get her out. But then the fire was already like
big.
Engulfed the house. Usually would I believe that? No, not really. But this guy, despite being a murderer, has more conscience than a lot of people working on this case.
Yeah.
Because he hears that somebody else got convicted for it and feels bad for him.
And, like, he shouldn't be in prison.
And he was like, I heard he was raised by a single mom and his grandmother.
Yes.
And I was raised by a single mom and my like, he had so much empathy for this person.
Despite the fact that we learned later that he was going around killing old ladies. This is not the first old lady he killed.
Yeah, okay, for a second, I drew his mustache and I was like, oh, this guy, like, came to the rescue. Right. I wonder what crime he was actually in prison for. And then was like, oh,
killing a different old lady.
Murdering numerous old women. Yes. Oh, never scratch out that mustache. Dirtbags can't win MBM. But he did show... See, people are complicated.
Right.
He can murder a bunch of old women to rob them, but he also felt a personal connection. Does this guy like the police? No, right? Does he completely believe the police would railroad and convict an innocent person?
Yeah.
Yes. Does he relate to the fact that this guy, like, had a hard upbringing and, you know, was not mentally capable of it's mind-boggling.
It's wild. Yeah, so his confession to the murder of Pauline was made public. The town was shocked. A billboard was created in an attempt to get more interest in the case. It said something along the lines of this, like, welcome to Aurora. Is this Aurora, Colorado?
I think so. It was like home of Johnny
convicted without a trial.
Yeah.
Kid convicted without a trial. Yeah.
But then someone firebombed the billboard?
Yeah, clearly not everyone in town believed that Johnny was innocent, but...
Well, they were all wrong.
Yeah.
I completely believe in his innocent.
Brownfield's confession was later determined by a judge to be bogus. However, Johnny's supporters believed
Based on
that he...
what?
I don't know.
They just didn't want to admit they were wrong, is what it is.
Exactly.
The system is upholding itself.
However, Johnny's supporters believe that Brownfield is the perfect suspect in Pauline's murder, as he has killed elderly victims in a similar manner in the way that she was killed.
Yeah, it fits his MO. He literally has confessed to it. He has the ability to confess in a way that Johnny does not. And he knows information about the crime that was not released to the public.
Yeah, there was like I think I have this in my notes later, but there was a stun gun found at the scene, and he knew, like, exactly, he could describe exactly what it looked like, and this wasn't something that was released to the public. And when Johnny was asked about the stun gun, he thought it was an electric razor. So, come on.
I wonder which one of them did it.
Yeah, I wonder.
Oh, it's a mystery. We'll never know.
So prominent attorney Dee Wampler soon took up Johnny's case. I didn't catch that name when I was watching the episode. It's not as bad as Sheriff Lumpkin, but Attorney Wampler is another character in our Forrest cartoon.
The idea that the Forrest has an attorney is kind of funny, but
so Sheriff Lumpkin is a bear. What is Lawyer Wampler in our Forrest cartoon?
Like a badger?
Wouldn't the badger be the bad guy?
I don't know. I guess this is your Forrest vision. Maybe he's like a big toad. Right?
That seems like that should be the judge.
I don't know then, Samantha. It's a raccoon. No, you're like, no, that would be a robber.
Yeah. I was just about to say that.
I don't know. A very greedy squirrel.
Okay, sure. He can be a squirrel.
Or what else? Whatever.
I'm trying to think of something wise. Maybe an owl?
An owl?
Or would that be the judge?
Well, there's more than one judge, maybe. There's both a toad
and an owl. We would be terrible at making cartoons.
A beaver and
a beaver is the local carpenter. A skunk is the character that no one wants to be around.
I love skunks, though. They're so cute.
They're so cute.
They're so cute.
When I was little, I wanted a pet skunk.
You can get a pet skunk.
You can. I don't know how, like, humane it is to remove their scent glands, though, because that's what you have to do to keep them as pets.
Yeah. I think it's only ones that have to be, like, rehabilitated anyway.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Well, in that
I don't
case-
think they go like catch wild ones and do it. I think it's ones that like get abandoned or
Wild skunks would make terrible pets.
yeah.
Scent glands or not, I feel like they would just like claw your eyes out.
We used to have this family of skunks that lived under our shed, and it was just the cutest,
so cute.
cutest thing. Oh my god!
Skunks are super cute.
So I would like to be the skunk.
Okay.
What would you like to be?
Maybe a capybara?
This is quite the forest.
No, it's very exotic. No, a hedgehog. I would be a hedgehog.
Oh yeah, you would be out making the crop circles.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Sorry.
All right, so Attorney Wampler soon took up Johnny's case.
He's a salamander.
Oh, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Okay, Attorney Wampler.
He learned that Johnny had lost his wallet shortly before the murder, and that the police had claimed that they had found his wallet and were able to get him to come down to the police station without his mother or grandmother by saying that they had his wallet there.
Yeah,
So
lovely.
they lured him there. They then began to interrogate him about Pauline's murder. They continually told Johnny that he was guilty and that they had witnesses to corroborate it. They yelled at him and aggressively interrogated him, including pulling him by his hair.
What? What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, it's awful. Since Johnny had such low mental capabilities, he was unaware that he could leave whenever he wanted to. I don't know that. I mean, I think that's true that he was vulnerable and they took advantage of that power dynamic and that he didn't, he totally didn't understand what was going on. But even adults don't know that you can just get up and leave.
Part of the problem is that the police are allowed to lie to you.
Right.
So they can say if you leave, that'll be used against you in court or whatever. They can intimidate you out of, like, technically you can leave, but they can definitely intimidate you or make you feel like that's not true.
Exactly. And no matter what, we are socialized to feel this power dynamic between they're an authority figure, whether or not you're 20 or 60, you're going to feel like they are in charge, and it's going to be hard to just say bye.
Yeah.
So
I went and saw Dean Strang, who was one of the attorneys from Making of a Murderer, like a year ago. He came and spoke at a law school. And one of the things he talked about was just because you can't imagine yourself in a position where you would falsely confess to a crime, like, that's your privilege, that you can't imagine yourself doing that. Plenty of other people feel like they're in a position where they have no power and that's like the best deal they're going to get. Like, if the police say, like, hey, we've got your fingerprints, we've got witnesses, we've got blah, 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 because the police are allowed to lie to you, they'll be like, great, they're going to frame me. They're going to lie in court. They're going to, like...
Totally.
There's not a way for me to get out of this. I might as well, even if I didn't do it, right?
I might as well take a deal.
I might as well take a deal. I might as well confess. That's what they want. And then we'll try to get through this, like, as best as possible, given this nightmare situation. So, and that's,
That's just the reality.
Yeah.
So that's things that happen to grown-ass adults.
Who do understand what's going on, and then they just go, I'm fucked. Right? There's no good outcome here. I might as well take the least bad option. That's someone who, like, fully understands their situation. Unlike Johnny, who is being manipulated, abused, lied to,
and has no clue what's happening.
And thinks a stun gun is an electric razor.
Really, really terrible. So after they finally physically assaulted Johnny, he did end up confessing. As the interrogation continues, it was obvious that the deputies were feeding Johnny information about the crime, which he knew nothing about. They told him that if he said what they wanted him to say, then he could go home. When he did just that, they instead arrested him for the murder, which Johnny could not understand. The shocking details that Wampler found in the confession showed that Johnny's confession was completely false.
Yeah, because they're just telling him what to say.
Yeah, exactly.
They're saying, yeah, guess this, guess that. And then when he finally gets it right, they're like, oh, you did it. No, that's not how that works.
Because when he's guessing, they say, how did you tie her up? And he said, handcuffs?
Which also...
wrong answer.
I think that also just proves that someone's thinking like a child. Like, a child would go for a dramatic, complicated way, not a rope. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, how did you tie her up? What would be cool? Handcuffs. It's like, no, you probably took some rope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so he
like,
guesses
that's
all
not-
these things, finally lands on the right answer, and they're like, you did it! Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. So former Deputy Dustin Toller began investigating Johnny's case as well and found that the evidence against Johnny was not credible. All of the evidence found at his home did not belong to Pauline, and nothing could be found that could tie Johnny to Pauline whatsoever. Also, they found a stun gun at Pauline's home. Chris Brownfield described using a stun gun at the Mart's home and described the stun gun that was identical to the one found at the crime scene. Also, the usage of a stun gun was never released to the public. Johnny had no idea what a stun gun even was. When questioned about the stun gun during his interrogation, Johnny thought a stun gun was an electric razor. The other thing was that they found this empty gas can at Johnny's mother's house. They also found an empty gas can at Pauline's house. But they chose to say that the one they found, which is a totally innocuous thing to have in your garage, that this one was the one that was used to burn down Pauline's home. It's ridiculous. On May 8th, 1989, Wampler attempted to get Johnny an actual trial, but a judge denied it, claiming that Johnny was competent during his confession and that Brownfield was not a reliable witness. In September 1990, his appeal for a new trial was denied again. To this day, Johnny remains in prison but maintains his innocence. So they show him in prison, they interview Johnny, which is something they do during these final appeal segments, and it ends up that he has to be segregated from all the other inmates for his safety. So he just spends all his time alone and in a maximum security prison. He has, at this point in the show, no hope of ever getting out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just
This country should burn.
pretty awful. So, however, this has a relatively happy ending.
Oh, best update ever. Because
Thank God.
at this point in the episode, I'm like, well, gotta pack my bags. I'm breaking this guy out of prison. Right? Like, this is so completely unfair. I'm so angry. Like, this ends tonight.
Well, fortunately, Liz does not have to go help someone escape from prison because this case...
First of all, how much help would I really be?
You show up at the prison gates.
Just banging. Let him out! Let him out! I've got like a tiny little pickaxe. I'm like drilling into
Maybe
the wall.
even Sky dive into the prison while Eye of the Tiger plays.
The eye of the tiger. And then all the prisoners are like, what the fuck?
Like, let's go, Johnny.
And they're like, yeah, wrong prison, bitch. I'm like, damn it.
You're at like the St. Cloud prison. You're like, what are you doing here?
Can I go? And I'm like, no, I don't know what you did. And I like, then go away. Sorry, I have to look into your case. Bye.
All right, so this is solved. As the years passed, the case continued to fall apart. One of the witnesses, Gary Wall, recanted his testimony.
Yeah, because I think they manipulated that person too.
Yes, he did. He also didn't know what was going on, and he gave a pretty vague confession anyway.
His thing was like, yeah, Johnny was just like, yeah, I did it, and if you tell anyone, I'll beat you up.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
Yep.
I'm sure that's real.
So he claimed that the police forced him to say that Johnny confessed to him.
I'm sure
In
they did.
September 1995, Missouri Governor Mel Carnahan reviewed the case and granted Johnny Lee Wilson a pardon, exonerating him of all charges. He concluded that the police had fed Johnny information about Pauline's murder and that his confession was false. Johnny was released after serving nearly 9 years in prison and was finally reunited with his mother and grandmother. As of 2017, he still lives with his mother and continues to mow lawns. He states that he is not bitter about the wrongful conviction.
Whoa, I am.
And he has happily moved on with his life. Pauline's real killer is believed to be Chris Brownfield. However, he was never charged with her murder.
Well, he was in prison for other murders.
I know. My thing about Brendan Dassey, speaking of him, is that Scott Walker had said, you know, because he was the governor when Making a Murderer came out and there was all that buzz about it. He said formally he would not be reviewing Brendan's case or Stephen Avery's. He's gone now. Do you think
true?
There could be a chance for... I'm not totally clear on the difference between clemency and a pardon, but I think the governor can grant both. Can't he?
I have no idea.
I honestly am not sure, but I think he would certainly have, because a lot of people I think were like, well, the president can pardon him. Well, the president can't because it's a state crime. He was convicted in a state court or whatever.
Right.
But I think the governor can. So, you know, maybe we should all start writing some letters or something.
I feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't comment on this until I watch the other part of Making a Murderer, but I feel like particularly Brandon's confession just makes no sense.
I'm not sold on Stephen Avery's guilt or innocence, but yeah, there's no way.
Personally, I feel like the police fucked that up so bad that we'll never really know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I am very positive of Brandon's innocence, and I think that's been a huge miscarriage of justice, and I hope he can be released soon, because it's just...
Yeah, it's awful.
It's awful.
It's awful. I'm glad that, 9 years is not a short amount of time to spend in prison, but he was sentenced to life, and it could have been a lot worse, a lot longer. He's out living with, he's back with his mother. He says he's not bitter about what happened.
Which is amazing to me. I feel like he should have sued them for all they were worth, but...
I wonder what... Since he was pardoned and not... there wasn't a ruling that it was a wrongful conviction, I bet he's not eligible for anything.
That's probably true.
There's so many loopholes around that anyway that I bet
police department, though, is, corrupt as fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Terrible. And it seems like they should be held responsible, because who knows how many other people they did this to.
Right. They're not trustworthy in any way.
No.
It pulls so many other things into question. All their other work you would have to examine through that lens of if they're beating up suspects and...
Absolutely.
Getting confessions out of them.
And
you would have to hope that in this small town, there's just, no other crimes for them to abuse. You know what I mean?
I would hope so. And then Pauline's family never really got justice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's assumed...
probably was that guy.
It's assumed that it was him, but no one ever pursued it beyond publishing his confession in a newspaper.
Yeah.
So...
It's really interesting. If you're going to watch this segment, it is really interesting to hear that guy... talk about how bad he felt for Johnny.
Yeah.
It's just not something you would expect.
It was fascinating.
Yeah. Okay, we have one more case. That was the bus stop update ever. So glad Johnny's not in prison. So that I don't have to go break him out. That's true. What a relief. Because I was like, well, guess we're all writing letters to Johnny tomorrow. Dear Johnny, we will get you out.
Hang tight.
Hang tight.
We'll be there.
We'll be there. 30 years too late, but whatever. Okay, so I have an unexplained death, which is either an accident or foul play. I have my own suspicions, but we can discuss it. This is the death of Kenneth Ng, who was found dead in his garage. This was in Edmore, North Dakota on October 4th, 1988. He was found at 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon, dead in his garage. His uncle found him, and the cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning. And there's some slight suspicion around the death, but I kind of don't really buy it.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I don't think there was any foul play.
So at very, very first, they thought it might be a suicide, that he had left his car running on purpose so that he would die of carbon monoxide poisoning. However, there was a few suspicious elements. One is that a fully loaded .22 caliber rifle is found 6 feet from the body. There's also a small pool of blood on the floor. Also, he's not in the car. He's on the floor of the garage.
Right in front of the door.
Right in front of the door. But the reason this is clearly not suicide, you would think, is that the gas tank is nearly full and the ignition of the car has been turned off.
Yep.
So if he was committing suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning, you would think he would still be in the car. You would think the engine would still be running.
Right.
That's typically how those very tragic cases go. There was no signs of assault on the body. So his family was like, we don't think he committed suicide. I don't think he committed suicide either. No. I think that this is an accident.
Yeah.
So we get the bestest reenactment, which is that Kenneth and Curtis was with his friend Curtis Heck at a bar till close.
Yep.
Is Curtis Heck Canadian? I don't know, but he's so entirely wholesome.
Yes.
For someone that's getting into a 2 a.m. bar brawl. So it's the end of the night. The bartender's like, hey guys, you gotta get out of here.
Please leave.
Please leave. Seriously, go the fuck home. And Kenneth was like, yeah, who you going home with, sexy bartender lady? And she was like, not you. This guy Curtis over here. To which Kenneth got so mad that he, like, punched Curtis, and the two of them got into a barroom brawl. But you get to hear Curtis talk about it, and it's just sort of adorable. He's like, look, neither of us are Muhammad Ali. So
you can imagine how this went.
Well, you can imagine we're drunk. We're not good at fighting. We're rolling around on the ground, and eventually I'm holding him there, and I was like, I'll let you up, but then you just gotta go. And I'm going to take this sexy bar lady home. And so Kenneth is mad, and he storms out, right? And this bar also is, like, your classic town dive bar
it's
with,
just
like...
a country bar.
You know, like the posters of the sexy ladies that come free with shipments of beer or something. I don't even know where those come from.
I think they do. Possibly you get an order of vodka, and it just has
has, like, a calendar with, like, somehow even today still like an 80s babe with like the high cut swimsuit leg and the like big hair, and she's like, ooh, Coors, and you know, everything's like wood paneled, and I kind of really wanted to go to this bar. It seemed very funny to me. Anyway, so Kenneth, he's mad, he's not gonna get laid, he storms out, clearly should not be driving.
Yep.
Is in such a bad mood that he purposely backs his truck into Curtis's truck and speeds off. And so Curtis is like sitting at the bar, and he hears the collision, and he knows immediately what happened. And he's like, God damn it, my truck!
You don't mess with a country guy's truck, let me tell you.
Also, both of these guys do body work on cars, which is hilarious. So Curtis goes, well, if I have to work on my truck, he has to work on his truck. Yeah. So he drives him and the waitress over to Kenneth's house just so he can go kick in the sides of the truck a little bit.
The reenactment of him kicking this truck. I'm just like, dude, you are going to fucking mess up your back.
I know. He can like barely make a dent in it.
You need to go to the chiropractor tomorrow because you are going to
I'm sure he was so sore. Though that would be the most fun reenactment to do. Yeah. I was like, remember that stupid thing you did when you were drunk? Now do it again.
For TV.
And he was like, all right, that would be so fun. Anyway, so he goes there and he's like kicking in Kenneth's truck. And then he hears something in the garage and realizes Kenneth is in there. So according to him, he opens the door of the garage, sees Kenneth like passed out drunk on the ground, and was like, well, now you have to fix your truck too. And, you know, turns around and leaves.
Yep.
So he's the last person to see Kenneth alive. He says, I did not realize he was dying.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
in
hindsight, because probably Curtis shouldn't have been driving around either, right? These are two guys that have been drinking till close.
Yeah. And he is driving the bartender home.
Yeah, and he's driving the bartender home. And
he was just pissed about his truck. He had just kicked this truck. He's drunk.
He's drunk. He's angry.
Looking back on it.
Looking back on it, it doesn't feel real good that he was dying and I just turned around and closed the door. But I did not know but the truck was off.
Right.
He didn't smell any fumes or whatever. He had no reason to believe there was carbon monoxide in the garage. You know, in theory, Kenneth is a mechanic. He should know better. Whatever. He claims they didn't fight again. There's actually no signs of assault on the body.
Yep.
There's whatever. Kenneth's family is like, oh, this guy Curtis killed him. What the police think happened is he backs into Curtis's truck and like, ha ha ha, got him. And then goes home and it's like, oh, fuck. Curtis is for sure coming here. He knows where I live. I didn't just drive into his truck and get away with it. So he's sitting in his truck with the rifle waiting.
And it's probably running.
And at some point goes, wow, this is a really bad idea.
So he turns his truck
Turns the truck off, gets out of the car, but does not make it out of the garage before collapsing.
He's probably a combination of he's wasted and dizzy from the carbon monoxide fumes.
Right.
And then he lays on the ground. Carbon monoxide is heavier than air. That's why they tell you to put your carbon monoxide detectors on like the lower plugins or whatever. So probably it's all just like on the floor. And then he lays down in it. And
They were acting like because this guy was a mechanic that he wouldn't have had his truck running in a closed garage. And I was like, I think this guy was drunk as a skunk.
no.
I don't
Also, he
think...
does body work. He's not like a engine mechanic. And he's drunk. He's pissed off.
I don't...
He might not be that good at his job. Like, I hate to break it to you, but...
I think that the police are right in this case. I think he was just waiting for Curtis. That's why he had the gun with him.
People make a big to-do about the fact that the car was off. But also, if you're going to kill someone that way, you wouldn't turn the car off either.
Okay, the thing is, if Curtis is going to murder this guy, he's not going to do it with a car and carbon monoxide. Like, this would be a crime of passion. This isn't something he thought through. They got into a fight at 2 a.m.
Right.
He would shoot him, or he would beat him to death. He wouldn't
Turn the car
lure
on
him into
for
the-
a little while,
Yeah.
turn it off, and then leave.
Yeah, because you wouldn't even know that would kill him or not.
No.
That doesn't make any sense. That's not how you would commit murder without thinking it through at all when you're drunk at 2 a.m.
No. While the bartender is waiting
Well, she's
in
just
her
waiting
car?
outside.
What are you doing in there? Yeah, no.
Oh,
This makes no
I'm
sense.
just killing Kenneth with carbon monoxide. Don't worry about it, baby. Right, like, they would have had a fight or something.
Yeah.
How would he get him to stay in the garage otherwise? He's not tied up.
Kenneth, lay down.
Lay down. I got a surprise for you. It's called death. No. None of this. It's an accident, and I realize his family is having trouble believing it, but the autopsy doesn't support the family's theory, and the police maintain that the cause of death was an accident. It's technically unsolved, but I think we solved it.
It's pretty solved.
I think that everybody should watch this segment just so they can see Curtis
Kicking at a truck.
kicking at a truck and just sort of like so politely explaining how he got into this bar brawl and how he did not know that guy was going to die. It's just sort of, it seems like a Kids in the Hall sketch. I don't know. It's very sweet. I did draw Curtis's mustache here by this. Is he Canadian? And I called his mustache the Golden Arches.
Nice.
Because he was blonde and it kind of looks like an M.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Is that the mustache you scribbled out from?
Yeah, this is the guy that turns out he was killing old ladies, so he doesn't get to be.
Yeah.
I was going to be called the helpful criminal.
Okay.
But
We're throwing him in the trash.
yeah, no, sorry. All right, so that's my case.
Okay, well, let's rate this episode.
Let's do it.
Mysteriousness?
Not that mysterious.
No.
I mean, was Coral psychic?
I guess that's still a bit
That's
of a
our mystery, but
She probably wasn't, but it is a mystery how she
then
did
a mystery
that.
is like, yeah, what was she up to then?
I really want to know. So I'm
Yeah.
like a hesitant thumbs up on that one. The rest of this is not mysterious.
No, not mysterious. We've solved these other cases because we're geniuses.
Yeah. Reenactments.
I actually thought, if we can put the R word aside,
Yeah.
I thought your segment was very gripping.
Yeah, and I think they did a nice job with the reenactments.
Yes.
The courtroom, well, there's not really a courtroom. It's like judges' chambers and like an interrogation room, but all of those were really well done. And
Yeah.
I think they put a lot of work into making them accurate.
Sometimes the longer segments kind of drag on. I'm sure you've heard us complain, like, oh my God, why is this so long?
This one didn't really.
No, I was
enjoyed
like
it.
glued to the screen, really needing justice for Johnny. I thought it was very well done. And this last one is kind of hilarious. It's a sad accidental death, but the reenactments are amusing.
They are.
So I would give it a thumbs up.
I think so too. Fashion,
There's some good fashion in my first segment.
for sure.
Other than that, meh.
Yeah, it's
So
kinda,
sideways,
It's
I
kind
guess.
of meh. Robert Stack.
Eh.
Yeah, I don't
Meh,
know.
meh, meh.
I didn't notice anything.
Yeah.
So
He's just throwing some shade at Coral, but other than that,
yeah. Other than that,
he's like, well, they're nothing special. They just come from beyond the grave. All right, Zach. Wow. He's
listen,
got
his
really...
bar is raised.
Yeah, he's got some really high art standards.
All right. So out of a possible 5 out of 5 Robert Stacks, I liked this episode.
I like this episode. I would say you're a 3.5 and a 4.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's actually pretty solid.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first one. The last one had some solid reenactments.
Yeah.
And like you said, Johnny's case was really gripping, and I'm happy it had a good outcome.
Yes.
I'm not going to say a happy ending because he still went to prison and had
He
to go
still
through this.
wasted
and there's
almost
still
a
no
decade.
justice for Pauline. However,
It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
yeah, and at least we're not totally left with nothing but outrage. So
For once.
for once,
For
doesn't happen
once in
very
our
often.
Goddamn lives.
All right, so that was that episode. Do you have something to recommend?
I thought that I didn't at first. But
I
then
kind of don't, but I do have something.
But then a friend of mine came through. A friend of mine, Brian Duffy, who is an artist in Chicago, he made this illustration, which I should pull up for you.
Is this the one you have on Twitter?
Yes.
I loved it.
Okay. It is 2 figures moping, and it says, mope all day, brood all night, party never. And it just speaks to me on a deep spiritual level. And I have been asking him for probably years now, can I buy this as a print? When can I buy this as a print? I need this hanging in my home. This is my life. And he just kept being like, yeah, I'll get around to it, whatever. Oh, I have a small child, Liz. I'm busy. Well, I have needs too. Finally, is available. You should go to his Etsy shop called Yeah Duff. So that's YEAHDUFF. Yeah Duff. And it is available for there. You can get it as a digital download and then print it any size that you like.
Nice.
I think I'm debating. I kind of made me like a whole poster for like my door, like dorm room style.
Nice.
I don't know. It's so good.
I love it. I saw you tweeted it and I was like, this is amazing.
The second I saw that it was finally available, I was like, oh my God. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting.
I love it.
Yes. So check that out for sure.
So my recommendation is kind of more of an update.
Okay.
But I really liked it. So this comes to us courtesy of friend of the pod and fellow podcaster Rob. I don't know if you saw this. He literally posted it today, like right before we recorded this.
No.
And that is, they think they've found Amelia Earhart's plane, and they're raising money to get it off the ocean floor. So this is, first of all, I want to point you in the direction of some other resources that are done more research on this than us. There is a podcast called, is it Chasing Earhart?
I think so.
It seems like they're on Twitter. It seems like they really know their stuff, and they have interviewed, I think, some of the people that are involved in this. From what I can tell, we talked about the Earhart Project, which are the people that got all those recordings and kind of put forth the theories about her being on this island. It turns out her bones were found there. So they and this man, Bill Snavely,
Sure.
have started a new endeavor called Project Blue Angel. And there's a little bit of information on their website. So they talk about for the past 13 years, Bill has been studying and researching a reported aircraft wreck site in the near coastal waters of, I think it's called Buka Island, near Papua New Guinea. The site is approximately 100 feet below the ocean surface. He learned of the site in 2005 from a local corrections officer. This apparent wreckage site is located directly along the route that Amelia flew in an area that has never been searched. Bill appears to be the first person to search for Amelia's aircraft by starting at the beginning of her flight route.
That's weird. No one else thought to do that.
To the west and working his way eastward. Bill's theory is that Amelia and Fred flew for approximately 12 hours and turned around due to being low on fuel. This is the first time in history of the Earhart investigation that a possible aircraft crash site has been discovered with multiple characteristics of Amelia's Lockheed Electra, which is her plane.
This is wild because I've always thought of this as one of those mysteries that was never going to be solved.
I know. And they most likely know that her remains were found. We don't have the remains, but chances are they found her remains. And now it seems like they've probably found her plane. In August of 2018, members of Bill's team went to Buka to conduct a preliminary investigation. They connected with islanders and conducted initial dives. The team included a marine biologist and a filmmaker, a licensed boat captain, aircraft pilot, all kinds of people. In the 2018 expedition gathered measurements and other data to assist in evaluating the crash site. This data is under review by experts. They'll be releasing their findings soon. This kind of just happened. They can report that they found a piece of glass approximately 6 inches in diameter that has a lot of consistencies with a landing light on Amelia's plane. And I think they said that there's like 5 or 6 other things that are very unique about her plane, that it seems like this plane shares those characteristics.
Whoa.
So what's next? They are planning another expedition that will include additional experts and equipment, such as high technology underwater submersible capable of enhanced imaging. Blah, blah, blah. So they have a lot of expenses. They recently added new team members after appearing publicly for the first time. Oh, here we go. They appeared publicly for the first time in 2018 on the podcast Chasing Earhart and Astonishing Legends. And they were featured as a guest on something called the Chasing Earhart discussion panel. They launched a GoFundMe effort to help with expenses for the next expedition. So I looked at the GoFundMe. I'm not sure if they just launched this or what, but they've only raised $10 out of their $200,000 goal.
Oh, no.
So I'm not saying you need to give them money, but this might be something to follow, because if they reach their goal, if they're able to go on this next expedition, they may be able to raise this plane from the water.
Yeah.
And if it truly is Amelia Earhart's plane, that's an incredible find.
Yeah.
And will probably solve a lot of the mystery. So keep an eye on the Project Blue Angel. Rob posted the GoFundMe in our Facebook group. If you want to go support that, you can. I'm not saying that you need to. I'm not sure if they're going to reach their... It seems like they have a lofty goal and they got a long ways to go, so they may not even get there. But it seems like these people are excited about this and are going to hopefully go on this additional expedition and gather more evidence. So maybe it's something to keep an eye on. Subscribe to the podcast Chasing Earhart. I'm sure they will keep us updated. Maybe check out the episode of Astonishing Legends that they're on. I don't know. I thought it's interesting. This is an interesting mystery, and I would love to see this definitively solved. Maybe one day we'll be able to see her plane in a museum. I don't know. That'd be cool.
Do you think it will not include a radio because she hated them so much?
Possibly.
I think we should all take this as inspiration that any mystery is solvable.
I like that. That is the moral of the story.
Because I would have told you we'll never know.
Truly.
Yeah.
But turns out
I thought this was the definition of an unsolved mystery.
Totally.
And now it's seeming kind of solved.
Completely.
We can solve
Any
Let's work
mystery.
together. We can solve any mystery.
Mothman. Solved.
Solved. By us.
Does he have
A rockin' booty?
a rockin' booty?
No, he's not really a man, Samantha. He's like a giant moth apparition. But
You don't know? You've never seen him?
you know what? You're right. And I hate to contradict the forthcoming romance novel
Exactly.
about you and Mothman.
Exactly.
So, what do I know? As usual, none. Okay, let's end it on that note. You should check out all of our social media things. Perhaps it's you.
Perhaps it's you. We're going to have photos of the mustaches on Instagram. Check them out.
Yes, and the Sergeant Stubby Memorial.
That'll be there.
If you have a paranormal tale, would you please email us?
Perhaps it's you podcast@gmail.com.
We really need some paranormal stories.
Yeah.
So if you saw a ghost or an alien,
Look, we
or...
have books of them, but they suck. So we need some better ones.
Yeah, the stories we've gotten from listeners are 10,000 times better than the ones in these books.
Are you saying that a haunted drain is not an interesting story?
Someone tell me if I'm wrong about this. I swear there is a Stephen King short story about a haunted drain. Can someone confirm to me that that's true?
Is the whole story just college girls in a dorm room not wanting to lose their security deposit?
I don't think so. It's probably an old white guy in Maine realizing his life isn't what he thought it would be.
In the audiobook, he has a gritty voice.
Yeah.
Sounds like he smokes a pack a day.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
What else? Oh, so yeah, we have new Patreon rewards. You can go to patreon.com/perhaps it's you, and we'll update all that info for you.
We're recording our Patreon episode today, so there's a chance it may be out before the last day of the month.
I mean,
It doesn't happen very often, but it might just.
Congrats to us. Thank you.
Let's take a bow.
Thank you. Is there anything else you need to say?
I don't think so.
All right, get out there and solve some mysteries, bitches.
Bye.
Bye.